Until 2 weeks ago, I hadn't heard a single song from Hamilton. Don't get me wrong, I have a deep appreciation for Broadway, and we saw as many shows as possible over the last few years of living in New York City. But for some reason, I never really latched on to the trend of Hamilton. And then we were quarantined, and we got Disney Plus, so I figured maybe now was the time. I took a deep dive in, and I kept coming back to the final number of the musical. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? It is a powerful thing to think about legacy and the way our lives turn into narrative for future generations. Perhaps it is so striking to me because that is the whole foundation of Torah, the ultimate narrative and legacy of the Jewish people. We tune into Torah this week with our second census of the book of Numbers. You might be asking, didn't we just complete a census? Why is a second one needed so soon? Well, Torah time, much like COVID time, runs on a different clock. The census will count a new generation, one that has only known life in the wilderness, a life free of slavery. This is in part to gauge the strength of their army in advance of entering the Promised Land, but it also serves to know how to divide the land amongst the tribes of Israel. It is here that we meet the daughters of Zelophehad. The 5 sisters approach Moses with a claim that they deserve to inherit their father's land. They declare, "Our father was not one of Korach's disloyal faction, but he died in the wilderness and has left no sons. We ask that his name not be lost, but that his portion be given to us, his daughters." Not only did God immediately decide in their favor, but God also commanded that it be set as precedent of law for daughters to inherit. The rabbis are quite taken with these sisters, suggesting that they epitomize the females of the wilderness generation with their faith in God and personal courage. One midrash teaches that when the daughters of Zelophehad heard that the land of Israel was to be apportioned among the males of the tribes, but not the females, they gathered together to take counsel. They said, "The compassion of God is not like that of humans. Human rulers are more concerned with males than with females. But the one who spoke and brought the world into being is not like that. Rather, God shows mercy to all, as it is said, Adonai is good to all, and God's mercy is upon all God's works." The story of Zelophehad's daughters is often seen as a win for the rights of women, but it isn't the end of their story. A few chapters later, the men of their family challenge the law for fear that if the sisters marry outside of the tribe, they will lose lands in the process. The law then is amended to require the daughters, or any woman inheriting land in absence of a male, to marry within the tribe to preserve the allocated ownership of land. It feels a little bit like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. However, in Pirkei Avot, we learn, Lo alecha hamlecha ligmor. You are not expected to complete the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. We can acknowledge that progress is being made, even if it isn't perfect or complete. As such, these women become authors of their own stories and shapers of history, however imperfect. This year, we celebrate not just our biblical models of strong women, but also those from our American narrative. In August, we mark 100 years of women's suffrage in the United States. To honor that milestone, ReformJudaism.org invited Rabbi Carol Balin to share her commentary on the Book of Numbers, with her expertise in Jewish history and gender studies. Rabbi Erin, who has been a visiting scholar at NSCI and is a cherished mentor of Rabbi Daniels, offers an alternative book of numbers designed to tell the stories of Jewish women who combined civic engagement with Jewish values in a 40-year struggle in the wilderness to pass the 19th Amendment. They are incredible stories, and I encourage you to seek them out. The women who fought for the right to vote didn't get the instant results granted to the daughters of Zelophehad, but their persistence and dedication to the cause established not just legal precedent for the next generation, but a legacy of bravery, determination, and quality. As a proud new resident of the state of Illinois, I was delighted to learn that Illinois was actually the first state to ratify the 19th Amendment, almost a year prior to the final state required to pass it into law. It is a reminder that our right to vote and to engage in public discourse should not be taken lightly nor taken for granted. In order to safeguard the legacies and their lessons, we must continue to tell the stories. Thinking back to Hamilton, I appreciated how Lin-Manuel Miranda wove the women back into the narrative, with Eliza Hamilton being the last voice we hear from. The founding mothers were right there alongside their partners, and their stories deserve to be told. We also return each year to the story of the daughters of Zelophehad. Each time we hear their story, we can take something different from it, because we too are different each time we read it. In the Torah, a women's commentary, Rabbi Silvina Chemin writes, "Perhaps the most important legacy of Zelophehad's daughters is their call to us to take hold of life with our own hands. Nothing is more sacred than life itself, and the fight for what we believe is worthy." There are many things in this world that make us feel powerless, that make us feel like we have no control. Hopefully, in holding on to the legacy of the sisters, Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milka, and Tirza, and to the legacy of our suffragettes, we can each find a cause that is sacred and worthy, that brings to life the legacy of those who have come before us, and that shapes our story for generations to come. Shabbat Shalom.